To unpack all of this is Kimberly Sachs. She's a PhD assistant professor of political science at the University of Michigan-Flint. And Dr. Sachs, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So we're going to break down just a few of the executive orders that were signed yesterday. There are already today some legal challenges for the executive order that ends birthright citizenship. Now, this is, if we are correct, a guarantee in the Constitution, the 14th Amendment to be exact. Can it be stripped away with the stroke of a pen?
No, it cannot. It's actually the first sentence of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. And it says, pretty clearly that if you are born here, you are a citizen of the United States of America and of the state, you're a resident of the state that you were born in. It is not something that can just be undone by a president, nor is it something that can be undone by an act of Congress. You would have to amend the Constitution to change that. So it's something that would be very difficult to change, and the Supreme Court has interpreted this many times to mean exactly that it is a right to birthright citizenship in the United States.
And there was also yesterday the signing of the executive order to begin the process of withdrawing the U.S. from the Paris Climate Agreement, as well as the World Health Organization. How will this, in your opinion, impact the U.S. if we're no longer a part of these agreements?
So, the two things are different. There is a connection, though. The connection is that this takes us further away from the international community. And really, in a time when we're trying to express leadership, takes us away from those obligations of leadership in the international community. What's different about them is that the Paris Climate Agreement was not something that was actually signed onto by Congress in the same way. We actually helped founded the World Health Organization, and we passed that through Congress. So it's not something that the president can unilaterally actually take our membership out of without an act of Congress. And in fact, there will likely be, if there hasn't already been in the past couple of hours, a lawsuit about that. Both agreements to withdraw from them in either instance requires about a year's process to withdraw from both of those entities.
In all, on his first day in office, President Donald Trump rescinded 78 Biden-era executive orders and actions and memoranda, and that includes the Inflation Reduction Act's regulation on prescription drug prices. And we know it went into effect on April 1st, 2023, and people with Medicare have seen savings on over 120 drugs thanks to that Inflation Reduction Act, Medicare prescription drug inflation rebate program. Can people who relied on these savings expect the prices now to go back up?
So there's a little bit of good news, a little bit of bad news. So the actual executive order that was signed rescinded three initiatives in particular. One of them was capping generic medications at $2 for Medicare beneficiaries, a program that would let Medicare pay less for drugs that in turn for receiving accelerated approval from the FDA, and also a cell and gene therapy program that would have helped state Medicaid programs pay for therapies that are highly effective but expensive. So those provisions are now gone. There are still provisions that were part of the law that worked to negotiate certain drug prices. So there are the ones that have already been instituted on those drug prices. So the lists that we've seen that have already been put into effect, those ones will stay because they are actions of Congress. But anything going forward is on much shakier ground. These things have been especially rescinded. So if you were counting on that $2 cap on generic medications, that's going to be gone. And any kind of future negotiations over prescription drug prices, it's going to be difficult to negotiate those when you have this kind of rescinding of executive orders in place.
Dr. Kimberly Sachs, we of course couldn't get through all 200. We could only highlight a few, but we've enjoyed our discussion today. Thanks for explaining some of this to us. Dr. Kimberly Sachs, Professor of Political Science, University of Michigan Flint. We appreciate your time. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.